instead of giving you guys new notes for this, I'm going to just tweak these because they're really almost the same. I'm going to have to make these different for next year because that seems like a waste of paper. So underneath your title, I want you to put something like multiplication and division.
You just write on this paper?
Yeah, pull it out and write right on it. And if you're looking at the vocabulary, I know we didn't really talk about the subtraction property of equality and the addition property of equality. Basically, it means if you add something, if you add the exact same amount to both sides, you keep it equal, which is kind of what we talked about. They also have a multiplication property of equality and a division property of equality. So it's the same thing. If you like subtraction property of equality is if you subtract the same amount from both sides, it stays equal. Addition property, if you add the same amount to both sides, it stays equal. And that's what we used to solve for those properties. Now we're doing multiplication property of equality, which is if you multiply both sides by the same non-zero number, we'll even with zero, it stays equal. And the same with division. Okay? So basically, each operation has this property, and as long as you do the exact same thing to both sides, you keep it equal. Think of it as that balance in science, or identical twins who have to have exact same things. Think of it as that thing, and as long as you do the exact same thing to both sides of that equal sign, you haven't changed its value. So you can manipulate or change around things as long as you do it to both sides. With multiplication and division equations, it's the same goal. You're getting the variable alone on one side of the equation because the goal is to find out what it's worth, whatever letter it is. That's your goal. Steps are the same. You're going to do exactly the same thing. You're going to write the problem. You're going to look at the operation that's there and do the inverse of it, the opposite. Remember we did, if it was an adding, we did subtracting. If it was subtracting, we did adding. Well, it's the same. So we're going to add down here where it says addition and subtraction. You're going to write, if it's multiplication, then divide. And you can write this kind of enough so that you can read it without writing complete sentences. And if it's division, then you're going to multiply because they are inverse operations to each other. So it's the same concept, same process. You have to think about the pairs. Adding and subtracting are a pair, multiplying and dividing are a pair. Okay, and what you do is the opposite. And then you have to do it on both sides. Okay? And then you're still going to check the same exact way. Original problem again, written with the variable. Now this is where we have to be careful because you're going to pretty much have those with the letter and number right next to each other. And you need to remember that that is multiplication. And then you do the work. So it's the exact same. Everybody got what they need for this? Yeah. All I did was change it to, all I did really was add. If it's multiplication, then you're going to divide. And if it's division, you're going to multiply. That's really all we added. And at the top, we just added the two different properties, and we changed the title. So there's really no sense in giving you a whole nother page. Okay? What's that now? So, you can just kind of set that off to the side, get your line paper. If you really wanted to use the back of the other one, I don't care, but you can use a new one, whatever. I want to do it just a smidgen different. I want to like have a multiplication column and a division column with a couple of examples, just so that you remember, because multiplication and division are those, they have some funky way of writing. You're pretty much always going to see a multiplication problem as something like this. 4x equals 16. With this part, the 4 and the x, next to each other, meaning multiply. You are not going to pretty much see anything else. Okay, you're not going to see the multiplication sign, you're not going to see the dot, you're not really going to see the parentheses either. You're pretty much only going to see number and letter. Remember, the number comes first and then the letter. And for division, you're pretty much only going to see something like this. Not necessarily all the time, but x over 4 equals 3. Remember, that also means division. You might see this a little more often. You might see that with the division sign. If it's like this, fine, you can do it that way. If it's like this, I don't want you to change it. I'll learn a little algebra in this issue. Me too, actually. And the reason I showed you this division one first is because it makes it a lot easier to do this one. Oh, that was Student of the Month reminder that we don't have this morning. Because on the multiplication one, draw your lines. If this is multiplying, how are we going to undo it? We're going to divide. Well, you could put divided by 4 here, whatever, but it's so much easier and so much more algebraic, grown up, to do this. How much easier is that? And that means divide. Okay? The biggest reason I want you to do this is because if you were to write, and don't write this, just watch me here. If you were to write this, and you were to write like up here divided by 4, and up here divided by 4, or something like that, this side is okay because it ends up being 4 divided by 4. No matter which way you write it, it's still going to be the same answer. However, this side, if you end up where it looks like this for some reason, you are not getting the same answer. Okay, it's just like subtraction. You can't flip it. Especially if it was something like this. And you did this. That's not correct. That's not the same because it's division. You cannot change its place. You cannot commute it. So, and you do something like this on any kind of test, you really are supposed to lose points, like your algebra regents, things like that. That's why I really, really, really want you to start getting in the habit of just, if you're going to divide in something like this, put the line and put the 4 under it. Okay? That's really, I'm trying to get you in this habit now to avoid the mistakes later. Plus, you could actually solve these like fractions at this point if you needed to. We don't have to this time, but you could. And actually, doesn't this look like the part over whole equals percent over 100 formula, or the ratios? Remember how I said that you didn't know how to solve them like that yet? Today you're going to learn how. So next year I think I'm going to do this unit first, because then I don't have to worry so much about that crazy thing. But anyway, 4x divided by 4 equals 16x divided by 4. In this case, this is 4 over 4. They can just cancel out, just like the others. And you have your x equals, by the way, don't forget that equal sign. A few of you have been here randomly forgetting. And 16 over 4 is 4. Obviously a simple one to learn the process, but... And then to check it, Remember, you're doing the first. Everybody got the top chunk? So I can move it up. You write it, the original first. Now here's where you got to be careful. Okay, remember, you're not just sticking the 4 in the place. It is multiplication. You can either use a nice big dot here or parentheses. Personally, I would prefer to use the parentheses. But either one says 4 times 4. Do not, because this is 16. If you just put that in the place of the x, you've got 44. Not the same, right? So I would prefer this. You could use an x for multiplication. Just make sure if you do, you make it like really tiny. Make sure it's obvious it's not this x. Okay? Again, you really need to get into the dots or the parentheses. It's still the same thing. It's still a question mark. We're not sure. Remember, you're doing the math on this side and the math on this side, if there is any, and then if they equal each other, it checks. Going straight down. Pretty much the same process, just multiplying and dividing. Okay? So let's do one more multiplication one underneath this one. Now obviously you could multiply with decimals and you can multiply with fractions. So expect those as well. By the time we get to the end of the year, you should be able to do these kind of things with fractions, decimals, whole numbers. The beginning of next year, you'll be able to do them with negatives. So you're going to jump right into it. How about 7g equals 21? I know it's kind of a simple one. And I know, like, when you get into the major algebra stuff, like if I'd made that like 24 and it wasn't going to come out even, some teachers would want you to use a decimal and some teachers would just have you leave it as a fraction, like when you were done. So actually knowing you guys need to know how to multiply and divide fractions, because a lot of times that's what you will be done with is a fraction. That's why I freak out when you guys don't learn your fractions. But anyway, draw your lines to keep it separate. This is multiplying, so we're going to divide by 7 on both sides. These cancel, leaving g equals 21 divided by 7 is 3. Why, good morning. Everything's cute. And then to check it, original with substitution and question mark, and then math on both sides. I'm going to have to start putting like 10 plus 11 over here, so you have to do the math on both sides. So that's really what you're doing. You're doing the math. It's just that there's no math to do. So. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Pretty much. Same idea. Just give you a second to catch up. And then we're going to go back up the top and do some division ones.
What is this?
I have no idea. That is a good
Everyone
question.
says it, but
I know. I don't know. Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Doesn't mean how it's easy.
Maybe. I'm sure there's got to be a reason for it. All that stuff usually has some kind of reason. Everybody good? Alright, let's go back up to the top. X divided by 4 equals 3. And here's going to be, I'm going to let you, this is another thing, by the way. You can just do this. Well, okay, after you copy it. That means times 4. And because it's the same number, and it can be commuted, you can write it on the left side. If this were over here on the right, this
You can write it up.
All right. Okay, so actually multiplication and division ones are almost a little bit easier, like less. And then you can either do it over here, or you can do it under. Either way. These cancel. Just think of it, this is 4 over 1, right? You can do magic x and all of that, leaving you x equals 12. And then your check. Pretty much the same thing, x over 4 equals 3, and 12 over 4, we think, equals 3. 12 divided by 4 is 3, so 3 is 3. It works, it checks. Good. One more. Oh, let's see. R over 9 equals 4. I like multiplication ones because they're easy to make up. So there's nothing to worry about.
What is this?
Yeah, this is division, but it becomes multiplication. See, I'm thinking already a step ahead. Yes, this is division. It's r divided by 9 equals 4. So we're going to multiply by 9 on both sides, giving me r equals 36. And then do the same process with your check. Original. Substituted. And final. Don't put this out here. Keep it that same straight down, one step down process, please. And that's it. So as soon as you guys get done copying this, I'm going to pull up your homework and run it off for you. Is everybody else set? And I will give you a copy for Raven.